Okay, so we can get started. Let's go in. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. And a special welcome to our visiting guests and Rotarians. Things go better when you are here. We'll now begin the meeting with O Canada and a toast to the Queen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us commit. Catorce porte y se porte l'acqua. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Ah, beautiful. Toast to the Queen.
President Deb, I can't unmute you. You need to unmute yourself.
We got here. So I was just saying, introduction of guests. I do see our Assistant District Governor, Steve Meadley here. Thanks so much for joining us. Sue Croft, do you have a guest?
Good afternoon, President Deb and fellow Rotarians. I'm very pleased to welcome Taylor Curry today.
Welcome, Taylor. I'm glad you come back and joined us again. So, any other guests out there? Just gonna go through.
Hi, President Deb. Jonathan Derrick here. Pleased to also bring Eleanor Dath as a guest today.
Wonderful. Welcome, Eleanor.
Hello, everyone.
Oh. So welcome again. As we say, things go better when you are here. We hope you enjoy your time with us. Our Beacon editor this week is Brian Galbraith. So if you do have any announcements, please send it off to him. It helps him out. And thank you so much for Arlette for a great beacon. Our announcements, we have a few. I do want to just jump in. I'm hoping everybody received an email just not too long ago with regards to the club assembly. And I have had one question come out as to kind of what I'm going to do when if this goes by, what am I going to do? I am just going to recite it. So as the words, as you see in the notice, it is recited. So hope that it answers all the questions and go from there. So we do have Ian has an announcement.
Thank you, President Deb, fellow Rotarians and guests. As I am the secretary for the Rotary Club of Barrie Charitable Foundation, I'm informing you of an upcoming annual general meeting for the foundation that'll take place on Thursday, February the 4th during our weekly noon meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. So this meeting is to review the audited financials for the fiscal year 2019, as well as to pass a few procedural motions. Just want to remind everybody that as a member of the Rotary Club of Barrie, you're also a member of the Rotary Club of Barrie Charitable Foundation, and you have voting privileges. So just be aware that that'll be in 2 weeks from today. If you have any questions, please let myself or Arlette know. She's the chair of the foundation. So thank you, President Deb.
Thank you. Look forward to that. Any other announcements? That's kind of what I was given a heads up on, but do we have anybody else with an announcement?
I have one, President Deb.
Okay,
I want to announce again for any gently used clothing to be sent down to the Rotary Club of Coruscant in Belize. So Alfred can help help raise money for his club by selling the clothes at a greatly discounted price, obviously, and use that money to then put back into the community. I've had 2 people out of our whole club send me some used clothing. This is for the first, by the 10th of February, I have to have it. So if we could start getting some clothes together that you're no longer going to use, pack them up and drop them off to me. I'll make sure they get to Belize. Thank you.
thanks so much. So we have a couple of birthdays. Dave Mills, January 23rd, and Stu McMillan, January 25th. Dave, we do have no club anniversaries and no wedding anniversaries. So Dave, birthday celebrations.
Happy birthday, oh yes it's your day, I hope that it's okay, though it may sound cliche, make good things come your way, so have a happy day.
Awesome. No, that just brings a smile every week.
Was an explosion at the end. I had to cut out. Sorry, it was going to be way too loud.
So, and for your birthday, as you know, we have our birthday certificate, a donation to Polio Plus, and a donation to the fight against COVID has been made in your name. So SAA Eric.
Thanks, President Deb. We've been doing a little bit of scrambling to make sure that we have a DAC and a few other things ready to do for today. But I think we've got it. It just may be a little bit of a work in progress and a little bit of trial and error as we try this one. Secretary Jeff still having some technical difficulties. So I do have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Do we have Brandon in the house today? I'm not seeing Brandon. I wanted to get an update on his hair. All right, we don't have an update on Brandon's hair, but we certainly are still working on making Brandon look better for the future. And with lockdown continuing, it might be a little while before we get to see what the new Brandon's do will look like.
He's wearing a man bun now.
Oh, excellent! That's almost worth paying for on its own.
Bad.
Yeah. Now is a picture being taken of each of his dues as this goes through? I think that's going to be, something that we can all look back on in years to come to remember COVID.
I have a bunch.
Good, excellent.
Yeah.
Send them along. We'll create a little bit of a gallery before we go to the new due. The last I looked, the tally was at $3,000. Still lots of opportunity to get in there and make a gift. Speaking of beauty and makeovers and things like that, Beatrice, are you online and are we able to move to you?
Hi, SA Eric. Good afternoon, President Deb, fellow Rotarians and guests. Yes, I am. Can you all hear me and see me?
Yeah, you're having a kind of a big day today. I think you've got a good news announcement and maybe some fun. If people want to pin your screen, if you know how to do that, you may want to see Beatrice in full size.
Yes, I do have a great news announcement. In fact, today is the official launch of Mob Beauty. We are open for business. Please feel free to go to www.mobbeauty.com or on Instagram, go to the Mob Beauty. Feel free to tell your friends and family who love makeup, clean, vegan, and sustainable makeup to go check it out. So definitely a great news announcement. Definitely plugging Mob Beauty and welcoming any fine you may send my way. I was hoping Mr. Brandon Elliott was online so that we could see his man bun and see if maybe he needed a makeover. Maybe he needs a bit of bronzer or highlighter. Certainly I could contribute to his haircut. But he's not here. So I see Rory saying something, but it kind of popped on my screen and then it disappeared.
So so today is the real live launch day. It's big times going on at the lab and all.
Yeah, I'm in my office now, but I thought I could do a really quick walkthrough. I'm gonna have to put my mask on, hold please, and you're gonna see some of the Mob Beauty team members. They might wave at you. Everyone's pretty excited and busy. Hopefully you can all still hear me with my
Sounds
mask.
good. Yeah. Well, you're going. I know President Debbie will be giving some good consideration to the size of a Brandon donation for all of this great promotion you're doing.
Absolutely open to suggestions, although I think President Debbie may have gotten 1 or 2 Mob Beauty products. So, you know, she's contributing to the cause. So here's our lab, everyone. This is where we develop the product, we invent it. And you can see Micah, one of our chemists, he's working real hard. We've got some team members here. And this is where we assemble the stuff. And let's see if we're not shipping right now, but first day, we got our first order. Our website went live at midnight and we had our first order at 12:21 a.m. So we're pretty excited. First day's looking good. So President Deb, what's my punishment? What's my fine?
Well, I'm a bit torn because by all means, if you did not make the announcement, the fine was going to be exceptional. So being that you did do, and I believe I fined you pretty heavy when you did the announcement of starting Mob.
Yes, you did, and I happily donated to the foundation. I'm thinking today, you know, I'm feeling pretty high energy, pretty excited. I don't know, like you can hit me with a number, President Deb, and I think I could go along with it.
Okay, I'd hit you with $100 then.
Sounds wonderful to me. I was worried you were going to make it higher, so I'll gladly donate $100 to the Brendan Elliott Haircut Fund, and I'll throw in a lipstick for him.
Perfect.
He's looking pale.
Yeah, he may need a little help on that, especially once he gets the new do, just to doll him up a little bit more.
That's great. Congratulations, Beatrice, and looking forward to seeing the success of another great local company going global. And we will keep on checking in with you to see how that's going. Brian Galbraith, I see you're online. I'm going to try sharing my screen for something that Brian shared to me. And give me a moment for that. And all right, here it comes. And Brian, you can unmute for some description after.
Nothing playing, Eric.
Oh, okay.
Are you sharing a video? You need to actually click on share audio as well as the optimized video.
Okay. That is not working then? Okay. Oh, sorry about that. We'll try one more time and then we'll give up.
Lots of nice comments in the chats. Hope Beatrice has a moment to see those.
Yes, I have a big smile on my face. I'm reading them. I'm trying to, it's hard on a phone to see the comments, but I'm seeing them pop up at the bottom of the phone. Thank you so much, everyone.
Well, there was a request, if you didn't see it, there was a request for some mob makeup for all the Rotary chicks.
All right, did we get any luck at all on the video?
No, nothing showed, Eric. Sorry.
Okay.
If you want to email it to me, I can throw it up once I receive it.
Yeah, so that probably, let's, I may do that, but we may just hold it for next week. Let's see if I can get any luckier on sharing a couple of slides. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try this. Sorry, folks.
A sneak peek into our behind the scenes pulling a meeting together.
Yes, indeed. Nope, that's not what I was going for. All right, I have a poll for you today, if I can make that work too. So this is what was sent to me. It was kind of fun. We have, now are you seeing this screen?
We do see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Blowing on your wine mug, yes.
Good. So I do have a poll for you today. It's a kind of interesting concept. I've got my mug with me today. So the poll for the day, and at the moment I can't see my Zoom screen. Jeff, can you see the poll function? I'm going to stop the
There
share.
we go. It's
I've
up.
got it. Don't worry
There
about it. I
we
got
go. So give us a sense of that. What's that in your mug?
I have a feeling I'm going to be the only one that says water.
No option for a soft drink? Coke Zero.
No, I guess that would be a special beverage.
Well, some of us are still working these days, so I really can't do that. I would love to have a glass of wine as I fix the machines. I don't think my customers would.
All right, let's end that polling. See how we did. Share the results. So it looks like we're a water drinking club today. A little bit of coffee and tea.
Now, is it the truth, Eric?
This is true. Yeah, we gotta go on Rotary Honor System there to see what's actually in those mugs today.
We are 3 weeks into the new year. It could be the resolutions are still holding.
This is true. This is true. All right, let's go to Sebastian. Are you online today?
He is.
Yes, I am.
I'm not going to bother
President
throwing
Debbie.
your. I won't throw a picture of that. Was good, Bas. You had a little story about being a Canadian.
Yes, sorry to the arms, Eric. My secretary reminded me that I have become a true Canadian. As I walked out of my office door, I hit my shoulder into the doorpost and automatically turned and said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she was absolutely in stitches and said, "Are you expecting an answer? But now you're a real Canadian. You're apologizing to doorpost."
How true.
That definitely
I have a student from
qualifies.
China living with me. She did the same thing to the door, and she's only been here for 3.5 years.
All right, I'm going to do one more screen share. And that Doug Jernigan, are you on today, Dr. J?
I am.
All right, I've got a little shot that you had shared with me. And is this guy coming through?
Yep.
President Deb and SAA Eric and fellow Rotarians, when we came to Canada permanently 13 years ago, we brought an aging horse, an old dachshund, and 3 cats. We're down to these 2 cats. This was taken a few days ago. And this is actually Tucker's bed. He's the one looking like WTF with the other brother smushed up against him. When we wanted to find an orange cat for my bride, 15.5 years ago, almost 16 years ago, my daughter said she had friends that had a litter of kittens and at least one of them was orange. So we went to look. We always use neutered males. They make generally the better pets. When we got there was a litter of kittens that were 5 weeks old. And when I sexed them, the 2 orange ones were both males. And I knew then I was in trouble. We went for 1 cat, but we came home with 3. So thank you, Eric. Those are the only 2 animals we have left in our life, Pippin and Tucker, and they're both good boys.
Thanks, Dr. J. It's you'll keep those pet pics coming. These
No,
are
the Big
definitely
Mac meal,
not new
please.
pics.
And the drink.
Got some sound in there.
That was Graham Mallory a second ago, in case you care.
Ah, It doesn't hurt to know that that we've got unmuted folks wandering around. All right, President Deb, is our speaker for the day on at this time?
I don't see him yet. I know he's tight for time, so I know I've been told 12:45
Okay.
that he should be able to sign on. So I wonder if Beatrice is still there. Just she could show a few things.
Hi, everyone. Of course I can.
Might as well make it a few minutes, and if being president of Rotary here, and also one of the spouses of one of the founders of this company, I think a few extra minutes is always worthy.
Well, thank you very much. So obviously very excited. The concept of Mob, when the founders came together, we really felt passionate about several things, and I think in the past 2 weeks we're seeing that what our vision is being validated by some of the influencers that have already received our product, which was to be a pro quality brand, so very high quality makeup that's clean and vegan, but most importantly in sustainable packaging. So that's what I'm excited to show you guys, because the cosmetic industry is known to be a huge contributor of waste, and we wanted to be part of the solution. And so what we've created is refillable makeup. So your package is sold separately. You will always keep the outer package of your makeup and just endlessly refill it. So this is a lipstick, for example. You get the refill and the outer or the capsule separately, and then all you need to do is click it in and you can start using your lipstick. This is all made of post-consumer recycled resin. So it comes from water bottles. These are recycled water bottles. 50% of the material is recycled. And we're working towards making it 100%. So I think we're really just so excited about being able to offer, based on everyone's experience, Steve's experience as a manufacturer. Well, he has a lot more experience than that. He's been a great mentor in all of this. Keeps me on my toes, that's for sure. But yeah, well made, high quality, refillable, sustainable. You can get powder products, face products. You have customizable makeup. So in other words, ladies, you ladies in Rotary, and you men, you've probably seen your ladies pouches when you travel, get away for a weekend. I know it's the pandemic, but we will travel again. We're all counting on it. And with your customizable palette, you're not only using recycled material, but this little frame here pops up. And again, you get these, you get the makeup separate, and you basically pop it in. So you can have blush and highlighter and bronzer and eyeshadows. So instead of having a makeup bag full of different things or palettes that you don't use, or you use one shade out of 18, now everything you need is in one location. So you're being eco-friendly, but you're also having the pleasure of all your favorite products basically at your, at your disposal. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. Please open the floor if we have a few minutes. I'd love to hear questions.
We do have a couple minutes. I don't see our Mayor Jeff on yet. Peter, I see Peter's hand up yet.
My wife wants to know where she can purchase it. Is it at Shoppers, or is it where?
So Mob Beauty is a direct-to-consumer brand, which means you buy direct from our website, www.mobbeauty.com. And I've paid my fine. Yes. Done. So I'm going to make full use of it.
Thanks, Beatrice.
Thanks, Brian Galbraith. He just put up the website in the group chat.
Beatrice, can I ask, do you have plans to create an app?
We have so many ideas and plans in terms of shopping, like virtual shopping experiences with the makeup pros and things like that. So all of that takes time and resources and capital, but we're dreaming big, and there's lots of amazing technology now that allows you to have basically at-home shopping experience, but at a heightened level. So these are all future ideas and plans, Rory. Yeah.
Beatrice, where do you source your materials for your products?
The materials come from many places. So for example, the resin, the recycled resin, it comes from Asia, the plastic, the resin, the recycled resin. The makeup, it can come from several different locations. I mean, I wish we could source everything from one location, but we're very globally dependent on our supply chain.
It's just, I was wondering if Brandon would be maybe a future influencer of yours and do a TikTok video with his new
I mean, yeah, RF, I can totally picture him with a man bun and getting his hair cut and a makeover. I mean, I'm there with him. Let's do the TikTok, or maybe we do a competition, who can fill the palette faster. You know, there's lots of, I'd be down for that.
Congratulations.
Now, Beatrice, I do see in the chats that there's a comment about Valentine's Day and a fundraiser for the club.
Well, who's making that comment? Maybe we have a driveway coffee and we talk about it. A
Yeah.
COVID-friendly driveway coffee, and let's think of some fundraiser ideas.
That's good. We're always thinking of ways to raise funds, so.
Hey, did I see Todd Armstrong on the line?
Yes, I'm here. I had a question for Beatrice.
Oh, good. You start with
Todd.
that, then I'll nail you.
Hi, Beatrice. What's the significance of the name? Where'd you come up with that?
The name Mob?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically it stands, it's on the positive end of what you think of a mob to be, which is a group of people who come together to celebrate, advocate with passion. So think of a happy flash mob. Do not think of what you saw 2 weeks ago in Washington. We came up with the name long ago, way before any of this. But yeah, it's a group of people who come together to celebrate and advocate and do beauty better. The idea is that the community is along with us as we develop products, that it's really meant to bring a group of like-minded individuals together, including the consumer. They are part of our journey, and we want to hear their feedback in terms of how we can be more sustainable, how the pros, view our products. So yeah.
Good one.
All right, Todd, while we've got you hanging around, let's go back to when we missed a little while ago. So tell us a little bit about this. This is pre-lockdown, obviously, but you were trying to keep fit, and last time we couldn't get you off mute.
Yeah, I got the microphone working today. That picture, Eric, and President Deb, is just it gets a little old just lifting beer cases and scotch bottles all this through this pandemic. So I thought I'd get out with a few friends and lift some weights, try and do some actual workouts.
Nice. Was there anybody else in that photo that you wanted to throw under the bus?
Yeah, that was one of those rare Sunday mornings that Jeff Hand showed up. He's not on. I didn't see him in the group today, but yeah, every once in a while when his Saturday nights aren't too wild, he shows up on Sunday morning. Yeah.
Nice. President Deb, is there anything you wanted to levy a fine for that, or is this a keeping healthy kind of a thing?
Well, I think it's keeping healthy, and I know that we're still out there looking for another chair for the auction for next year. So I think, Todd's still hanging in there. I'm not going to fine him, and maybe he'll slide on into this year as well.
President Deb, I love the presidential pardon. Thank you very much.
A great tradition this week for sure.
Yeah.
However, you might want to not remember who you're in company with when you get pardoned.
Now, I do see our speaker has arrived. Arif, you want to take us into that?
Can I do one thing before you go there?
Oh, sure.
We've got, I wanted to do one second poll. This is for Mayor Jeff's benefit. So I thought with Mayor Jeff being with us, I thought it'd be nice if he got to know our audience. So I wanted to do a Barrie longevity question in the poll. So let's launch this. So this one is about how long have you lived in or near Barrie? So we can get a sense of the longevity of this club.
Well, I can't say over 60 because I'm not yet.
Go, we'll give it about 5 more seconds. We've got a pretty good percentage of participation. So here we go. I'm going to end the polling and share results. So our biggest cohort today is over 30 years, but you've got a good number of 60-year veterans and just a couple less than 5 years. So Mayor Jeff, you've got a pretty experienced crew to work with today. I'll turn it back over to you, President Deb and Arif.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, President Deb and SA Eric. For the benefit of the mayor, for sure, it's always good to know who you're speaking to as your audience. Certainly 30 years is the big one, but we're seeing a lot of migration, so I imagine that number will change. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker. Yesterday, the world watched as 45 went out the door and 46 came in. We have the pleasure today of having Mayor of Barrie, Jeff Lehman, who is the 46th mayor of the city, to address us to our club and our membership. You'll know, perhaps, fellow Rotarians, we're in the middle of budget talks, and this coming Monday, the city will be looking to ratify its budget. So certainly the mayor's time is valuable, but certainly he's got his finger on the pulse of what's gone on in the last year. Hopefully we'll benefit from that and what he can help us to predict as we go forward into 2021. So with that, President Deb, please help me welcome Mayor Jeff Lehman.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mayor Jeff.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up, Deb?
You can.
Yes, okay. Well, President Deb, Rotarians, thank you for the opportunity, and I'll speak for, I think, about 10, 15 minutes so that I've still got 15 minutes for questions. And it's a pleasure to be back in front of you, even in this virtual format. I don't want to talk too long about COVID, but a couple of quick updates. Obviously, the situation at Roberta Place, it is emerging now, of course, is probably the result of one of the variants of the virus, and is truly a area of huge concern because of just how contagious that variant is. That's the bad news, and obviously the continuing situation there is tragic. There has been a lot of help mobilized from Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Health Hospital and otherwise, but it's also highlighting a really critical issue right now, which is the shortage of personal care workers, PSWs, and registered nurses. There were shortages before COVID, and you can imagine the situation today. So there's been emergency calls out for help, but it is really care workers that are needed. If it was work that others could do, there would be others that could come in and do it, whether that's the military or otherwise. But that is the critical issue, and this is a broader issue right now at this high point of COVID. Now, I promise some good news. The good news is in the last week, we've seen numbers come down across the province in the hotspots and locally. So the big question right now is going to be whether that variant starts to circulate in our community and other communities. If it does, we are probably in for a extended period of closure. If it doesn't, if the lockdown works to limit the spread of it, even with that in the community, there's some suggestion we may be able to open up sooner. But really the end game of all of this is going to be the vaccine and the distribution of that vaccine. And planning, let me tell you, is well underway for the next stage of the vaccination rollout. And we were able to give 29 Sperling, the former police station, over to RVH and the health unit for testing and vaccinations. And it's been operating now for about a month as the vaccination clinic. It won't be able to be a huge mass vaccination center. There will be more that needs to be done there, depending on how much of the vaccines are able to be administered in pharmacies and by family doctors, as opposed to in a large clinic. So we'll see. But basically, we know it's going to be another several weeks at least before the measures are lifted. But the good news is, in the last week, for the first time, both the cell phone mobility data and the epidemiological data would suggest that the lockdowns are working finally. On the broader note, and in terms of Barrie, one of the impacts of COVID, and you're seeing a lot of this if you're following the online stories and discussion over the last 2 or 3 days on Twitter especially, is about how many people are leaving Toronto for surrounding cities. an astonishing 40,000 people left the city of Toronto, moved out permanently. Their population shrunk over the last 12 months. And the biggest intra-provincial destination there was the sort of ring of cities around Toronto, of which we are one. So Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph, Barrie, even Kingston, and some other cities are seeing upticks in people moving in. Simcoe County has seen the largest movement of people into it of any area in the province over the last year. And a lot of that is going to Bradford and New Tech and other fast growing places in the South End. But many of you are in real estate. You all know what happened to real estate. You know there are almost no homes for sale right now. We get a letter stuffed through our door probably every second day from an agent trying to convince us to put our house up for sale, even though we just bought this house a couple of months ago. I just moved in. And the shortage is extreme, and the price inflation is also very high. The positive news from that is there's a number of very positive things. One is it's now driving the economics of development to shift again in Barrie to favor forms of development that weren't viable before. So specifically, that is medium density in sort of suburban areas and high density in the core. And the city in the last 6 months has approved the 3 largest developments in its history, all in the last 6 months. The 3 largest residential developments in our history. And I know the form of the smart centers development is controversial. I'm sure somebody may want to ask me about that, but I can certainly tell you that between the hotel that it will bring to the downtown core and, much more importantly, several thousand new residents, that is exactly what we need to turn around the west end of the downtown. And it has been a tough year, particularly west of 5 Points. And the intersection of a number of social issues has continued to impact our downtown. But more fundamentally, if we want a strong daytime economy, if we want more food shopping options, if we want more clothing shopping, if we want more local services, daytime shops and services, more people living in the downtown is the very best thing we can do. And there will be a lot more coming to Bradford Street in particular, where the HIP development on the central lands and the Greenwind Smart Centers development on the other side will be moving ahead. RF mentioned budget, and I'll just touch on that. Yes, we are very aware of the economic climate, the high unemployment rate, the financial uncertainty associated with COVID. And for that reason, I moved a series of motions to bring the tax increase down from the proposed 3.8% to 0.9%. We are still able to move the city ahead even at that level. We are going to open a branch library in a retail unit in Hawley, which is very exciting. That'll be the 3rd library in Barrie, and a lower cost option by opening a storefront. Toronto and Ottawa, some other cities have storefronts. This will be our first, but I think it's a really promising addition to that part of the city. We're also moving ahead with a whole bunch of road work and the Allendale hub, which will be to move the hub for our transit system over to the GO station to align those 2 transit hubs. So the system, which already really operates in a way that radiates out from the bay, will have its central hub on Essa Road. We're going to build a new, modest 2-story bus building. And I'm quite excited about that one. You know, bus terminals are sort of functional, and why would you get excited about that, Jeff? Well, it's designed actually in the historic style of the Allendale train station, the historic station, and the farmhouse and some of the other historic buildings there. So I think it's actually going to be a very positive addition from an architectural point of view, and as well, it will help align the transit systems, because we know once this is all over, GO service will continue to increase from the Allendale area. There's not a lot of parking there, so we know we need to get people to the Allendale GO station on buses. We have a whole series of modernization projects that are also intended to save money. That includes transit on transit on demand, which works like Uber Pool. You actually order a bus, and the app organizes those who want the trips, and a bus comes straight to you. We use a smaller bus, a cutaway, for that. It's more cost effective for lower density routes. We're modernizing parking with a parking app and digital passes. And we are going to move forward with, as I mentioned, a number of road projects that are badly needed in the city. And the biggest one, of course, will be finishing the bridge at Harvey Big Bay Point, which will open up this spring. We had hoped to get that done before the winter. The contractor did run into some issues, but it will be open in the coming months. And then we can connect Bryan Drive. And those are the two key pieces to help with traffic congestion in the south end. So by the end of this year, we'll have the bridge. By the end of 2022, we'll have at least half of the Bryan Drive connection. And by the year after that, the rest of it, which is very exciting too. Last thing I'll just talk about is building activity, because I know many Rotarians are engaged in one way or another in businesses that are affected by the pace of residential construction. We're going to hit about 200 million in permits this year for 2020, which is excellent news. That is a significant growth, and that reflects the first subdivisions in the lands that were annexed from Innisfil. It took 10 years. You know, those lands came into Barrie in 2010, and the planning process in Ontario and the one that we undertook locally was a very thorough process. One would say very long. The result of that, though, is that we've been working fairly closely with the developers of that area, and a key piece that is missing yet is new employment lands, industrial lands. Again, anyone involved in the industrial or ICI part of real estate knows that industrial rents are climbing and industrial properties are in demand for the first time in a long time. That's, again, a very positive thing. It reflects our relatively strong local economy when you look at where things are still happening economically despite COVID. And we want to take advantage of that to better our community by bringing new employment lands to market. And that will help us continue to offer locations for our own manufacturers as they grow and to compete to attract them. So that is an exciting project for 2021. You'll see more on that at council very shortly. And I promised to try and keep my remarks short so that I could take questions, and I'm at 12 minutes. So why don't I stop there? And President Deb, I'd be happy to answer questions from the club.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mayor. Questions as we look around and see who has a question. Have to skim through.
President Deb?
Yes, Scott.
A little on smart centers.
Yes.
I agree that would be very helpful for downtown. Very much in favor of the project. What are the issues that are causing grief?
I think the height is past some people's comfort zone. And, you know, it's funny, during the debate on this, I recalled that in the 1980s, my dad was involved in Collier Place. And when that building was constructed or proposed, 15 stories, it was the tallest building in the central part of Barrie at the time. And people were very unhappy about that. And I think the change in built form, especially in the historical area, was tough for people to accept. In this case, I think it's tied, Scott, to the waterfront. And what's interesting is when the debut condos were approved on the theater block on Dunlop Street at 34 stories, almost no objections. Now, not everybody loves the architecture there, but when the height was approved, before any of the architecture was out, there was really no concern about the height. And with this one, I think it is tied to the fact that many people in Barrie do not want the waterfront itself to become blocked by a whole wall of high rises. And I guess what I would say back to that one is we were fairly careful in working with smart centers. There's only one new building on the waterfront. It is 25 stories, so it will be taller than the ones next door. But during the council approval, we pushed the podium back from the neighboring buildings and actually shrunk it so that that big podium that it sits on won't be quite as big and quite as ominous for the neighbors. The height is back against Bradford Street. And I would make the case, number one, that Bradford Street needs the revitalization. It really could use a lot of redevelopment. And also, it is a very good location for the highest densities in Barrie. It's a very underused arterial road. It's got lots and lots of traffic capacity. It is not on the waterfront. It's a block back. And there are very few views that are going to be blocked by height on that site. If you think about what lies behind it to the west, it's buried by the Bay Office building, and it's an industrial area by and large. So if you were ever to put up height, and we're concerned, of course, whenever we allow height, that we're not blocking off people's views of the waterfront, this is one of the best places to put it. And I firmly believe, number one, this is a developer that's going to build it because they've built it before and they have very deep pockets and experience in high-rise construction. And number two, they're going to lease it because they're also the largest commercial landlord in Canada. So I believe they will fill their commercial space and they will build it as promised. And we do have two previous rounds of proposed development on this site where it didn't happen.
Wonderful. Past President Greg, you have a question.
Thank you. Mayor Lehman, what is the expected rollout for the Metrolinx and GO Train service in terms of 24/7?
Yeah. I don't have a new update, Greg. As you probably know, Metrolinx has been pausing a bunch of its service because of the lockdown. I think unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit up in the air until we see how quickly ridership comes back after. There's two issues there. One is obviously the reopening of the economy and how quickly that occurs. And the second and very significant one is people's fears around being in a crowded train, especially one that's going into the heart of Toronto. And there is a fear factor there that people are going to, we're going to have to get past. I think once the population is vaccinated and COVID public health restrictions are gone, they are not forecasting that they're going to lose a ton of ridership long term. They think it's going to take until 2022 probably for 2019's ridership to come back. So does that put them back a year at least? But probably not more than that. And interestingly, they have done a very smart thing, which is during these shutdowns, they're getting every bit of construction done that they can. So, which is really smart. We tried to do the same thing, of course, with Dunlop Street. And if they can get that work done faster, it actually puts them in a position earlier to introduce the greater service. And that's the double tracking and particularly the switches and the structures closer to TO. So I think from what I know of Metrolinx, they are very numbers driven in terms of their customer base. It is a volume business. If the passenger volume comes back quickly, they could actually end up going faster than 2024. If it doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes another year or two. But watch the ridership numbers. And I guess the positive note I would also say is their senior execs are very ambitious. They don't want to. They want to hit that service target and plan and growth.
Well, and Catherine, you have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was any update on the status of the train station. I mean, I know the whole history with all the issues of it, but I was just wondering if there was any recent updates on it. That's all.
Thanks for the ask. And so the archaeology was paused for a little while in the first wave, resumed briefly, and had to stop again, really more for winter than due to COVID. But it only resumed fairly briefly, unfortunately. So we did lose even more time there. I think the good news, if I have some, is that we do still anticipate it being completed in 2021 if it can get started on time this spring. And that really allows us to make the final determination of what recognition looks like. Anticipating that, Michael Proust, the CAO, has already been in touch and talking with the Huron-Wendat and the Anishinaabe for about 6 months now on the issue of how can we move forward in recognition on the site, and then move forward with the use of the site. So the big change that has to happen there is we actually need a parking area for the Allendale station itself, the historic station, to use it as a community facility. And obviously we're not going to dig anything until the soil's been cleared from an archaeological perspective. So we're still hoping on 2021 for completion of the archaeology. And the plans haven't changed in terms of the use of the facility as a banquet hall, and then a restaurant, coffee shop and cafe in the small building.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I know I'm anxious to see that one go forward. It's been a long time coming, but it's
For
looks
sure.
like a beautiful building. Arif, you have a question.
Thank you, President Deb. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just curious, with this surge that you talked about, this sort of unprecedented surge of about approximately 40,000 residents leaving the GTA for areas like ours, what, if anything, does that do to your planners or the development community in terms of either ramping or applying to move forward with any builds, development, or even change in the planning itself or the layout of planned communities?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question. The 40,000 was just the city of Toronto, not GTA. It's astonishing. It is an exodus from the city of Toronto to the GTA and particularly to surrounding cities. And the exodus to surrounding cities is partly a function of how much more home you can get for the same dollars, partly a function of lifestyle and desire to enjoy all that we have to offer, or Guelph, or wherever you're moving to. In terms of our plans, I don't think it's going to change our planned pace of growth. We were careful this time to only bring the new subdivisions online as we are capable of servicing them properly, so we don't make the mistake that has happened in the past of, 10 years the houses are there and the park is still a vacant lot. That the parks and the community centers and the services get built as the neighborhoods are occupied, not many years later. Also, we don't want to overburden things like the hard infrastructure, the pipes and the roads and so on. What it might do by way of unit mix, RF, is interesting. And it is certainly fueling demand for more singles. And that runs contrary to the direction of our planning, which has, both for sustainability reasons and because of price, to be frank, we have moved into a much broader mix with many more multiples in the unit mix. Everything's selling though, so I don't think there's going to be any issue of units not being sold or development not being able to proceed. The biggest holdups to this point have actually been very practical issues around engineering, and to some extent our own ability to process everything as quickly as we'd hoped, given COVID. So an issue like inspections, indoor inspections is problematic. But we've been able to move ahead mostly with the processes we've got.
Awesome, thank you. And Marshall.
Thank you, President Deb. First of all, just a comment, Jeff. I have 4 new neighbors in my neighborhood, all of whom have fled Toronto, and all of them who are working from home. Most of them have kept their Toronto jobs working from home. And I heard a sort of a reverse problem of that, in that a lot of people who are working for companies in Barrie at Barrie rates of pay can now also work for home for Toronto companies and get the Toronto level of pay. So as a statement, the question that I actually had, although you can comment on that, but the question I had was really about the downtown. I heard a rumor about a market corridor that the city was going to look to develop between what I think is the old bus station and maybe as far down or down Bradford to Essa Road. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, and also what the city can do about continuing to provide the services for people who are obviously homeless and the disadvantaged people who are now in the west of the 5 Points Dunlop Street area.
Yeah, thanks so much for those questions, Marshall. So in reverse order, the most pressing need for services for the people who are in some cases living on the street in the downtown is supportive housing. So supportive housing is obviously affordable units with on-site services and supervision. So addictions, mental health, employment counseling. The best example of that in Barrie is Lucy's Place, the converted Bars Motel on Essa Road, which has 17 former motel units that are apartments with wraparound services. That took people straight from the street into housing units, and then they received service to try and help them overcome the reasons that they became homeless in the first place, and and be able to do what they want to pursue with their lives. So we need a lot more of that. And there are applications into the federal government under what's called the Rapid Housing Initiative for 3 projects that will provide more supportive housing. Then on Monday night, Council also voted to commit $3 million tentative. We've still got an approval on that, which will come in April, but to begin planning another project, a 4th project, that could provide supportive housing. And part of the reason to do that is we don't know if the federal applications will be successful. And if they're not, we'll be no further ahead in terms of supportive housing. So we'll see whether that one comes to fruition or not. But that is the answer in terms of services, and it is the best model, and it is the one that both is far less expensive than shelters or hospital beds, or certainly incarceration, which is often what happens with these folks. And it is the long-term answer for homelessness. The second piece of your question around the market precinct, yes, that's not a rumor, that's true. It is an emerging, I would call it, evolution of a vision that councils back to my dad's day on the BIA in the 80s. You know, there's often been a notion of tourism focus, being able to attract people to the downtown core with an attractive public realm, with shops and services that are independent. That thread's been there for probably 35 years. What's new now, aside from the streetscape project, which has just been completed, is that with the construction of the bus hub at Allendale, we can convert the bus terminal into a food market, which is the thinking there. And the platform area itself becomes a public space that can be used for that. But there are some folks in Barrie who are already kicking in really interesting ideas for other small projects. And the interesting question that's happening right now is the bit of the waterfront that has never been completed between Simcoe Street and Lakeshore, the triangle, if you will, between the marina and those 2 streets. You know, we got a couple old parking lots there, gravel parking lots. One's a bit of old Lakeshore Drive where we kept the pavement, turned it into a parking lot, and we got the parking lot for the Ontario Works building. You know, we don't want parking lots on our waterfront long term. That's a really great opportunity for improvement to that area of the city. And we're thinking about small commercial kiosks, there are some other suggested ideas for the public spaces, and the Sea Cadets building is the other one that I've really got my eye on. If we can build a boathouse for them at the South Shore Center, which is the plan, then that building could be replaced by what I would like to see is a 1-story, maybe 2-story restaurant with a large outdoor seating area right on the waterfront. So between all those, call them small and medium-sized projects, the market, the waterfront, Sea Cadets, the idea is a precinct that tentatively is being called the Market Precinct, but it would become an area that connects the waterfront into the west end of downtown, and probably become something that people want to come and visit, whether you live in the South End or whether you're visiting from the UK.
Awesome. And we have Eric.
Yeah, hi, Mayor Lehman. It's being a retired guy from healthcare now, I haven't been able to keep up on what's going on. I wanted to see, you had announced a Barrie Health Accord back in October. And certainly we've seen a lot of great collaboration going on among healthcare providers. Anything formal from the Barrie Health Accord, or is it more just in response to COVID?
Yeah, well, because 2 of the partners are intensely busy at the moment in the fight against COVID, it's moving slower than it would if it was not COVID, and that's the Public Health Unit and RVH, of course, and even ourselves in the county and the police. All 5 are wanting to move ahead, though, even though we're in the COVID circumstance. So the planning work is underway, and the hope there is that we'll have some quick start projects that do address the determinants of health. And I can say that there are 2 things that we're particularly interested in. One is called outcomes purchasing, which is actually where you contract service providers and pay them based on the outcomes of the services they deliver. So supportive housing is actually an interesting model. This has also been done in healthcare with things like blood pressure testing and management. Another a potential project in there is around transportation to and from healthcare services. A lot of what we need to do, though, Eric, is the assessment to say, because the whole core idea of this is 4 of those 5 organizations run emergency services and an ER. So it's the 3 emergency services plus the hospital. And we all know that we're on an unsustainable growth curve for pressure on those emergency services. So we all are looking at, as the paramedics did with community paramedicine, looking at their most frequent callers, their most avoidable calls. And this, of course, fits with what the police want to do with alternative service delivery, which is actually the core idea behind the defund movement, which isn't, in our cases, is about allowing the police to do police work and allowing the services, social services, to grow their capacity to take the pressure off police, ambulance, fire, and ultimately the ER. So the supportive housing we were talking about earlier in response to Marshall was is one of those as well. And I'm sorry, President Deb, I'm going to have to jump. Maybe time for one more question if there is one. Okay,
well, I have Ian. We do have 2 or 3 here lined up, so if you want to
I'm sorry. If you want to email me, and yeah, I'm happy to come back another time too. Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor Jeff, just a quick comment maybe, because I think this has to do with a lot of convergence of topics you've talked about. In the technology space, we're quietly fortunate enough that growth is happening for us right now. But with this, people moving out of the Toronto area, with the working from home element of things, the fiber and connectivity and such, we're seeing that the immigrant migration to the community being much greater, because there's less disparity moving forward between the wage difference of the Kitchener-Waterloo versus the outside of Toronto. And I think that access to cultural elements in the community or through the GO train to Toronto is going to be critical in the future for attracting the immigrant population to Barrie that tends to have the more technical skew. So just wanted to comment that I think all these things together are going to help make the technology industry in Barrie much stronger. So
it's a great comment, and glad to hear it, Ian.
Thank you. And just a thank you to you, Mayor Jeff. Catherine.
Mayor Jeff, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Barrie, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today. Along with your daily mayor duties, I'm sure that dealing with the pandemic isn't in the standard mayor's handbook. So thanks again. We really appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And Jeff,
enjoy the rest of your day.
We do have a certificate and a thank you for coming to speak with us. It is a donation to Polio Plus, as well as a donation to the fight against COVID that the Rotary Polio Resource Center is supporting.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for doing that in my name. And again, I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Come back anytime.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Yeah, that was good. We had lots of questions coming up. The end, I think we could have had them for at least another half hour. So we'll have to try and get them back again. So next week's program is MPP Doug Downey. And also just a note, we always say that our classifications are our best presentations. So with that, tonight at the satellite group, we have Andrew Choi's classification. So if you can pop in on that, that would be great. It'd be a great show of support to the evening group, as well as to our fellow Rotarian who has also taken on a role on the board for next year. So it'd be great to get to know him a little bit. So that's tonight at 7. And we have President Deb's Stronger Together, Together Inspired Moment, which is a continuation from last week with the way that Apple has changed the world. So we have a seamless interface. Thanks to the iPhone, touchscreens have become so popular that children walk up to TVs and are baffled when they can't swipe. And landmark Apple interactions such as pinch to zoom have removed the barriers of mice, keyboards to make information tangible and easily accessible. I can speak to that. I have a 6-year-old granddaughter who, when she walked up to wash her hands. She tried to, move it underneath, and it wasn't working. So she had told me that my faucet was broken. So just what 6-year-olds are starting into, as well as the image conscious consumers. By including a camera, the iPhone ensured that people would be able to take photographs at any time, wherever they want, in virtually unlimited quantity. It also gave rise to photo-based social apps like Instagram and Snapchat. As a result, photography has become central to the way we communicate with each other. How true is that? An extension of that is, of course, this Zoom call. So Apple certainly has changed the world. So having declared no other business for the good of Rotary, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, President Deb. Good meeting.
And Bob lipsticks for all.